So in this video, I'm going to show you how to improve your website's loading speed. Welcome to Ben's Business Podcast, episode number 16. Last week I was in an interview with Drew Cunningham, Mr. Droogle. The week before I touched on the importance of grabbing the website visitor's attention in that first 7 seconds, the 7-second rule. And I want to jump back and refer back to something I mentioned in that video about the importance of the website load speed before you can even grab attention. And because that's so important, I want to just touch on that and really focus on that and give you some more practical tips, because I think that once you get that report back from Google, they give some really interesting insights and gives you lots of ways that your website can be improved. But what I find is when we get these kind of reports from Google or anything else, it can be a wee bit too technical and overwhelming for some people who aren't technical or technophobics. And what's so important is that I give you some practical tips on, once you have that report, what to do next. So that's what I'm going to cover in this video, and I hope to just cover 5 main key ways that you can go ahead and actually implement some of these suggestions by Google by yourself without being technical. So I hope that I can deliver that today. I'm also on Instagram over here if you wonder why I'm looking over here, and I'm on Facebook Live for the Instagrammers. So the first step to speeding up your website is to reduce the image sizes. And I mentioned that I talked about the EWWW Image Optimizer plugin for WordPress. But if you don't use WordPress, there's another way. You can reduce the image sizes manually just through online image size reduction tools. So one is reducedimages.com, and that's a really helpful tool for, you can go to reduceimages.com, upload your image, reduce the size of it, and for example, I think one was 80 kilobytes and I got it down to 50 kilobytes with a couple of clicks, and it downloads back to your, after you upload it, download it, you can change the quality size, so you can keep making it from like 90% quality, you can take it down to 40% if you really care about your website loading. And I think in terms of search engine optimization, it's such an important factor because it covers a lot of areas like user friendliness, and these are all massive importance to Google's ranking, especially with mobile in the game now. People out and about using 3G mobile signal without having Wi-Fi all the time, so websites do need to load faster. And images are usually, when you do any of these Google reports or speed tests, Google always suggests, or the tools always suggest, image optimization is like the key, the most, like usually the problem. So if you can optimize your images, that's one way to do it. And then once you've got them back on your computer after optimizing it, you can send it off to your web developer. Or if you know how to log into your admin panel of your website, if it's WordPress, a content management system, you can upload that yourself, and you'll know that it's been compressed already before you put it into WordPress. And that's one way of avoiding it, so you don't need to install a plugin, because plugins actually kind of do some damage in terms of speed. It adds extra speed onto your website. So what you want to do is avoid adding plugins after plugins, because there's always a fix with a plugin, and it's easy to just suggest that, but that's just one manual way you can do that when you're uploading images to WordPress in the future. But for all the past images, if you've got like thousands like I have, then like thousands of blog posts or images from the past, the image optimization plugins are brilliant for that, because it's just one click and it does it automatically going forward. So that's 2 ways you can do it. Manually, you can do it with the automated plugins that you've got there on WordPress. Number 2 is the gzip suggestion that Google have in that report, and it had it in the report for that website I showed 2 weeks ago on Ben's Business Podcast, episode number 14, about the Google Think with Google mobile speed test. And the website was 20 seconds, and one of the suggestions after the optimizing the images was the gzip, which is a data compression software tool that you can use to compress all the files on your website. And that's a really helpful tool. And as the saying goes, I mentioned it on Facebook last week, it always seems impossible until it's done. And this is very much applies, I think it was Nelson Mandela that said that, and this definitely applies to technology. You always think that, especially these suggestions from Google, it looks too technical and people just shy away from that. unless they know what they're doing, or it just doesn't get done. And that's exactly why this video hopefully will be very useful to you. So I found a very quick hack at speeding up my website with this one, the gzip. What you do is go to whatsmyip.org/http-compression-test, and or you could just search HTTP compression test on Google and you'll find that website. And that allows you to just paste your website into there, and you can find out if the files have been compressed or not yet, because you might have plugins that have already done that for you. But if that's been suggested by Google on that report, that's a good first place to go. And what I found on this is basically tip 3, is you can go to your host. If you have any access to your host, if you have a website, you do have a host. You might not manage it, your web developer might do that, but I recommend you get access to your cPanel and your host. And your cPanel has a lot of features and tools for your website that you might not know about. It gives you stats like Google Analytics does. It gives you straight from the horse's mouth because it's going through your host. That's how your website's hosted on the internet, because you get a domain name, you get a host. But that's the side story of what a host is. That's a whole new video. But you should have access to that, and if you don't, get access to it. And then in there you can get a tool called Optimize Website. That's what it's called. And if you get logged into your cPanel, or your website, your web developer gets into there for you, they can do it for you. And for any of my clients watching, I'll be doing this for you free of charge because you're already in my web hosting, just to put that out there, because that might be the next email or phone call I'll get after this video. So the first thing you need to do is log into cPanel, go down to, I think the section on my web host is software, under the category of software, optimize image, and then all you do is compress all content, and that will compress all the web files on that website that's online, and it will compress them. It won't do any damage to your website. I would maybe suggest backing the website up before you go ahead and install any plugins or follow any of these tips, but that's just for your security. And make sure there's a backup saved on your desktop, so if anything does go wrong, you've got that and you can restore the website. And then once you do that, that should reduce the file size of the whole website and the loading speed of it instantly with literally one click. Then you just click update and that's it done. And then step number 4 to speeding up your website is, it was actually my web host that suggested this when I've been on this mission in the last few weeks of how to speed up my own and my clients' websites. And it's the W3TC, TC stands for Total Cache, WordPress plugin. And what that does, and if you're not using WordPress again, there is other content management systems. Look for Total Cache optimizing plugins or extensions. And what that does is, if you understand what cache is, or basically your web browsing history, when you visit a website, you'll notice the next time you visit, it doesn't take as long to load. It just loads up instantly, and that's because some temporary files are stored on your web browser. So when you return to that, it loads it very quickly. And what I've noticed when I update websites for myself or my clients is if I don't clear my cache or my temporary files on the web browser, some of the changes I've just made don't appear on that browser until I clear that, and then it shows me the actual what someone else would view if they visited the website for the first time. So what that does is the plugin actually makes your website use those resources on Google Chrome or Internet Explorer or Safari. It uses that resource of the cache to speed up and use that so that the next time someone visits that website, it forces it to use those temporary files already there. So that's why it speeds up the website, and Google encourage you and have that in place as well. So that's a really good plugin. That's the W3TC WordPress plugin. And then number 5 is another Google website test. And the other one that I showed you on episode number 14 was the one for mobile speed website tests. But this is just a general one, and you can find this at developers.google.com/speed/page speed/insights. I'll definitely put a link to these some of these tools, because there's a lot of tools I've mentioned. I'll just say that one more time: developers.google.com/speed/page page speed /insights. You could probably Google that and you'll find it pretty easily, but it has a lot more details and kind of instructions on how to fix these problems, whereas the other one sends a report and it kind of leaves you with it. This one's really helpful, but the tools in this Insights page speed for Google test is a lot more in-depth and sort of more technical than what we can comprehend if we're not web developers, even myself. So I will outsource these changes and get them done. I have a web developer who works full-time for me, so I can do that for you. But another suggestion on a budget for people, because I'm always trying to suggest the most valuable way possible, is to get it done free or as cheaply as possible. You could use Fiverr.com and look for someone who specialises in website speeds. And if you use WordPress website optimization and speeds, speeding up websites. So if someone that specialises in that, hire them to do and gather up all these suggestions from all these website speed tests and send it over to them and ask them to fix it and get a price. Because these extra things such as render blocking, JavaScript and CSS, these are beyond most people's heads. When you see something like JavaScript, that's what turns people off when they get these reports back from Google and nothing happens. And that's my best suggestion. If you get that, these things are not quick fixes, just like the first 4 tips I've given you actually are good tips. And that should, so for example, I got that website that I showed as an example from 20 seconds down to 13 seconds, so I saved 7 seconds on the website just through doing these tips for you. So I hope that'll help you. You imagine the difference that'll make if it speeds up your website by 7 seconds, and give that a go. So try that, hire a developer on Fiverr.com or Upwork, and you can probably find someone who specialises in these specific things to speed up your website. I hope you found that helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next Ben's Business Book Club. I'm just going to check if anyone is live just now, if I've got any questions before I go offline. Hi Alfie, thanks for joining me. So send in your questions if you've got any, Alfie. I'll be happy to answer them just now, or I can answer them next week.